and welcome to August 2025 edition of Macro and Market Wrap-Up, where we take stock of the developments during the last month. Trade talks are in vogue. There were a flurry of trade deals between the US and other nations. UK was first, followed by Vietnam and Indonesia. Most recently, we have had Japan, the European Union and Philippines secure trade agreements. Amidst all this, US President Donald Trump declared the imposition of a 25% tariff on Indian goods starting August, coupled with an unspecified penalty. While the tariff is tied to trade barriers that India has, the penalty is related to India's ongoing defense and energy ties with Russia. At the time of recording, details around the form and magnitude of this penalty remains unclear. Prior to the announcement, expectations in the market leaned toward a tariff for India that would be 6 to 7% lower than Vietnam's. The announcement runs contrary to popular belief that India was in a relatively favorable position with the US. It seems that the US administration has been driving hard bargains in most of its trade deals. Nations heavily dependent on exports, such as ASEAN, or reliant on US defense support, such as Korea and the parts of the EU, have had to make disproportionate concessions. For example, the recent EU deal involves zero tariff on US imports, while imposing a 15% duty on EU goods. France has publicly criticized the agreement. Similar situation stands for Asian counterparts. Japan, on the other hand, committed to investing US $550 billion in the US. We are unsure if these deals would be the final equilibrium. Further, they are not agreements in the sense that they lack legal backing. They are just a letter of intent. Even for India, 25% tariff isn't set in stone. It could be a pressure tactic too. India will have to tread its path carefully and weigh its responses. Any retaliation could also put services exports at risk. So far, India has been holding its ground against the opening up of its agriculture sector, which has been a major point of contention between the two nations. The Indian government's commitment to continue dialogue suggests it sees the current tariffs as another opening salvo rather than the final word. An implicit demand behind the tariff announcement was for India to curtail oil imports from Russia. In 2024, India imported roughly $190 billion worth of oil, and Russia supplied about 29% of it. The discount on Russian crude is estimated at $4 to 5 per barrel. As a direct impact, India can still revert to buying from the Middle East as it was doing in pre-COVID days. But if two big economies like China and India are forced to move away from Russian crude, this could lift the global crude prices. We will have to watch how these pressure tactics unfolds. Now, coming to the other economic impact. 23% of our goods have been shipped to the US in 2025 thus far. Hence, US is an important part in our goods export piece. It is unfortunate that it is coming at a time when India's growth has been underwhelming expectations. If the tariff stays in the current form, India's growth runs a risk of falling to 6% in FY26 or maybe even lower. But the bigger picture in all of this is that While the global political landscape is becoming increasingly multipolar, macroeconomic fundamentals still remain centered around the US still runs a massive current account deficit which gets mirrored by a similar surplus in China and the EU combined. This imbalance must adjust. The implication of the US tariff could be the shrinking of the US trade deficit, especially amid weaker USD and higher rates. This shall impart a disinflationary impulse to the global economy alongside China dumping, hurting trade, growth, and earnings everywhere, including India. This will keep markets volatile. More global monetary easing is likely down the line. Even if new trade deals are signed, many of which may be symbolic than substantive, it is reasonable to expect that the countries outside the US will increasingly seek to diversify their trade and investment ties. This shift could strengthen trade relationships beyond the US. However, a critical challenge remains. The US has historically absorbed a large portion of the world's excess production, acting as a global consumer of last resort. Without robust demand from the US, global trade volumes may remain subdued for a prolonged period unless China or the European Union undertakes substantial fiscal stimulus to boost domestic demand. It may be premature to declare an end to US exceptionalism, given its significant lead in economic, technological, institutional, and geopolitical arenas. Still, it is clear that US must deliver stronger economic performance to retain global investor confidence. The market is already beginning to question the premium placed on US equities and US dollar. In the short term, trade deals between the US and other countries may support the dollar by reducing uncertainty and restoring investor confidence at the margin. Some capital may flow back into the US markets. However, over the long term, the impact of these trade deals on dollar may be limited. Any significant narrowing of the current account deficit, especially if it results in fewer global transactions being settled in US dollar, could weigh on the currency. Should the dollar weaken, cheaper non-US assets may outperform. On the other hand, Europe is ending its long-standing fiscal austerity with Germany leading the path. Market will be keenly watching if a looser fiscal policy in the EU can drive domestic growth in a far tougher environment with key partners like China and the US. During the same month, India also finally inked a deal with the UK. It promises gradual tariff reductions such as cutting import duties on UK vehicles and reducing alcohol duties from 150% to 40% over 10 years. UK tariffs on Indian textiles, gems and furniture would be eliminated, potentially benefiting MSMEs which account for 45% of India's exports. The FTA still awaits UK parliamentary approval. For now, one shouldn't expect things to move fast and trade to speed up, say in next 6 to 12 months. But we do notice that exporters in the labor-intensive segment such as textile, handicraft, leather, gems and jewelries are hopeful on benefiting from the deal. The Indian economic activity is showing a clear signs of slowdown, reflected across high-frequency indicators such as energy demand, logistics movement, tax collection, monetary aggregates, and corporate earnings. Given the extensive liquidity support already extended by the RBI, the central bank is expected to maintain a status quo on rates in the upcoming policy meeting in August. That said, while inflation still remains a concern in the US, much of Asia is in a disinflationary phase. partly driven by China's rising export to non-US markets. Some of these goods are destined for re-export to the US, while others serve Asia's domestic consumption, contributing to deflationary pressures in the region, including India. As such, the monetary easing cycle appears to be entrenched. We would not rule out the possibility of additional 50 basis point of cut in this financial year. The adverse development on India-US trade deal would be another factor which adds to the case of a rate cut in India. Year to date, Indian 10-year GSEC has outperformed the local Nifty returns or MSCI India Index. In July, Nifty fell 2.9%, MSCI fell 2.7%, while US S&P, European and many other Asian markets rallied. Small cap, mid cap BSE 500 declined in similar magnitude. Most sectors, barring defensives like healthcare and FMCG, delivered negative returns. Indian equities' high valuation and slowing profits are inverting buyer-seller incentives. There has also been a noticeable pickup in equity supply of late, with promoters, private equity investors, as well as primary issuances contributing to the sales. FII flows were disenchanting in July. India's appeal among foreign investors stay muted, given a high valuation premium amidst a blunted earnings season. We are in between the results season for Q1 FY26 and results have been unexciting. Companies are speaking of moderation in hiring. Banks have seen a modest decline in NIM's margin and some concern on asset qualities. Industrials delivered surprising strength, while IT and banking broadly underperformed expectations. As results season continue over the next weeks, sectoral divergence will define sentiment. Our asset allocation framework continues to be neutral on Indian equities. Overall, we believe that market action is likely to be more measured and turn very stock specific from here on, with environment still conducive for bottom-up opportunities. In India, government bond yields were more or less stable. 10-year GSEC trades around 635 to 638 levels. Over the last few months, there has been a marginal steepening in the yield curve. Corporate bonds rallied during the month. Policy rate transmission, more so in the loan market, was the main objective behind the policy actions of the RBI in June. The RBI has transitioned the system from a tight to loose monetary conditions. The current level banking system liquidity remains above the stated comfort range of 1% of NDTL. This has triggered multiple VRRR actions by the RBI to absorb the excess liquidity and align overnight rate with the operating band and closer to the repo rate. Even as market yields have broadly stabilized in recent weeks, on a forward-looking basis, it is expected to remain in a range with no clear directional downward momentum. Support from a rate-positive domestic outlook such as lower than targeted inflation and weaker than projected growth outlook and liquidity surplus need to be balanced against negative external rates environment as well as market rate transmission so far in the cycle and the terminal rate expectation. Currently, short tenor high-grade bonds continue to provide higher accrual, though we do not rule out duration opportunities in the coming month. Signing off for this month. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risk. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.